I've always believed that the worst kind of horror isn't the kind that chases you, it's the kind that waits, that stands still, that watches you like it already knows how this all ends. My name is Rachel Devereaux. I'm 36. I'm a nurse from New Orleans, a widow for 3 years now. My husband Andrew died in a car accident on Christmas Eve, crushed between 2 trucks in a snowstorm on the I-10. It was the kind of pain that doesn't fade, it just goes quiet for a while. 3 months ago, I booked a cruise through the Aegean. People told me it was beautiful, healing even. I thought maybe if I could get away from the empty house, from the silence, maybe something inside me would come back to life. I was wrong. It was our last port, Athens. I had wandered off, alone, away from the group tours. I found myself in a little part of the Plaka district, cobblestone alleys, crumbling neoclassical buildings, graffiti, heat shimmering off broken pavement. That's when I saw him. He was standing across the street in the shadow of a shuttered antique shop. Tall, dressed in black, wide-brimmed hat, skin pale as marble. He didn't move. He just watched me. At first I thought he was a street performer, one of those silent statues you see in touristy spots, but no one else paid him any attention. No coins, no glances, nothing. His head tilted slightly when I looked at him, like he was curious. Then, without blinking, he raised one long finger and pointed straight at me. I turned and walked quickly away, but as I passed a mirror in a shop window, I saw him again, not behind me, not in the reflection, but inside the mirror, standing behind my reflection. When I turned to check, he was gone. I didn't mention it to anyone, didn't want to sound crazy. That night, the cruise ship was quiet, too quiet, no laughter from the bars, no music echoing from the lounges, just silence and the steady churn of the ocean. I went to the observation deck to clear my head, and there he was, standing near the railing, staring out into the dark water. Same hat, same clothes, same pale face. But here's the thing, he didn't board with us. I know because I watched every passenger file in at the port. There were only 124 of us, I counted. It was a habit I picked up during my ER shifts. I always counted people, exits, risks. I approached him slowly. "Sir, are you okay?" He didn't turn, didn't move. Then he spoke, a whisper, like wind moving through a graveyard. "Do you remember what you promised?" My skin went cold. I had no idea what he meant. He turned to face me. His eyes were pitch black, like hollow pits. His face was pale and cracked, like a shattered porcelain mask. I stumbled back, heart racing, but when I blinked, he was gone. I left the deck and locked myself in my cabin. That night, I woke up gasping for air. My room was full of seawater, not figuratively, literally. My bed floated. My luggage drifted toward the walls. I screamed. Then I saw him again, standing underwater at the foot of my bed, perfectly still, watching me. His mouth opened, and bubbles floated out, carrying words I couldn't hear. When I blinked again, I was dry. My bed was normal, but the floor was wet. I checked with reception. They said no leaks, no pipe bursts. No one else reported anything strange. I didn't sleep the rest of the cruise. We docked again in Mykonos before heading back to Athens for disembarkation. I wandered through a quiet part of town and found a strange building tucked between a bakery and a bar. It had no signs, just marble columns, a black iron door, and a symbol carved above the frame, an eye inside a sun. I don't know why, but I felt pulled inside. I stepped through the door and found a room made entirely of white marble walls, floors, even the ceiling. No windows, no lights, but I could see everything clearly. In the center was a chair, and sitting in it was me. Same clothes, same hair, same silver bracelet my husband gave me. The other me looked up and smiled. "You finally came back." I stepped backward, heart hammering. From the shadows behind her, the man stepped forward. Same hat, same stare. He reached out, and for the first time, I saw his hand, bone-white fingers with no fingernails. "You promised," he said again, "on the night you begged for your husband's life. You asked to take his place." And then I remembered the accident. The moment I knelt beside Andrew's crushed body, screaming into the storm, begging God or whoever was listening to let him live. "I'll trade you," I had whispered. "Take me. Let him live, please." I had said those words, I had meant them, and something had listened. I turned and ran out of the building. not stopping until I reached the crowded harbor. Back on the ship, I packed my bags early, but when we docked in Athens for the final time, there was a note slid under my door, written in thin, slanted script. A promise is a debt that only death can pay. I tore it up and boarded my flight home. It's been 3 months now. I'm back in New Orleans. My house feels darker somehow, the air heavier, and I keep seeing him in the windows of parked cars. In reflections on the street, he doesn't move, just watches. And every night, I dream of that marble room. Sometimes I see my reflection walking toward me. Sometimes I see Andrew, but always, he's behind them, smiling, waiting. And now, I no longer wonder if he'll come. I just wonder when. My name is Brandon, and I don't believe in ghosts. I've always been the guy who needed proof. The guy who rolled his eyes at haunted house documentaries and scoffed at anyone who said they saw something unexplainable. But something happened to me during the summer of 2019 that left a permanent scar on my understanding of reality. And every time I look at my phone, I still half expect it to happen again. I was on a solo cruise through the Aegean Sea, a healing trip, as my therapist had called it. The last 2 years had been rough. My dad passed away from lung cancer, and my long-term relationship imploded shortly after. I had no real friends left. I was floating through life like a ghost myself, and the cruise seemed like a chance to feel something again. We had docked in Mykonos for a day. The sun was blinding. The sea glittered like it was made of crushed sapphires, and the streets were alive with music and laughter. I wandered through a side street market, a row of tables filled with handcrafted jewelry, carved wooden souvenirs, and cheap leather sandals. That's when I noticed the phone. It was just sitting there on the edge of a cracked marble fountain. No case, screen intact. A black iPhone, probably a 12 or 13 model. I picked it up and looked around. No one seemed to notice. I asked the vendor closest to me, "Did anyone lose this?" He shrugged. "Not mine. I should have handed it in at a police station." I know that, but something about the phone felt inviting, like it was meant for me. I tucked it in my backpack and headed back to the cruise ship. Back in my cabin, I plugged the phone into a power bank. As soon as it powered on, I noticed there was no lock screen, no passcode, just an open phone, completely accessible. I opened the Photos app. Dozens of videos, all labeled with simple dates, no names. The first one I played was from 3 weeks earlier, just a girl smiling into the camera at a beach, giggling as waves crashed behind her. Another showed her dancing in a club, lit by strobe lights. Then they changed. The third video showed her crying. The background was dark, a narrow hallway, maybe a basement. You could hear water dripping and soft footsteps behind the camera. She was whispering, "Please, someone find me." I skipped ahead. The sixth video showed her sitting in the same place, visibly thinner, her hair matted, her voice cracked. "He won't let me leave. Every time I try, I wake up back here." The next few videos were completely black, just audio, whispers, breathing. At one point, she screamed loud, sudden, raw. I dropped the phone. My hands were shaking. I went straight to the ship's concierge. I showed them the phone and explained what I saw. The guy behind the desk looked at me like I was either drunk or crazy. "Sir, if you found a phone, we can hold it in lost and found. That's all we're authorized to do." I refused. I wanted someone to watch the videos. He called security. They took the phone, but the guard, some tall guy named Nick, shrugged. "We'll check it. If it's anything serious, we'll contact Greek authorities." I left my number and cabin info. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the girl's voice. "He won't let me leave." Around 2 a.m., there was a knock at my door. I opened it, expecting maybe security again. But there was no one there, just the phone, sitting on the floor. Screen glowing. Back in my possession. I didn't sleep at all. By the time we returned to Athens, I had told myself I was just having a mental breakdown. Lack of sleep, isolation, stress, that kind of thing can bend your perception of reality. I checked into a small hotel near Monastiraki Square. Tried to forget, but the phone wouldn't stop buzzing. New photos were being added of me, sleeping in my hotel bed, walking through Athens, sitting at a cafe. I never took them. One night, I turned the phone off and locked it in my suitcase. When I woke up, the phone was on the nightstand again, fully charged, screen cracked, and a new video was waiting. This time, it was me, crying. In that same hallway the girl had been in, only, I don't remember filming it. I don't remember being there. My hands were trembling so bad, I could barely dial. I called the US Embassy in a panic. They told me to go to the police. When I did, the officer plugged the phone into their computer. Then he turned pale. There are over 200 videos here. Most of them are disturbing. He asked me to leave the phone. I did. For 2 days, I felt free. I went to museums. I ate at rooftop restaurants. I even went out to a bar and flirted with a bartender. Then, on the last night, as I was walking back to the hotel, I saw it on the sidewalk, right outside my door. The phone with a new video of me standing right there, looking down at it. I flew back to New York the next morning. I told no one what had happened. My friends wouldn't have believed me. I threw the phone in the Hudson River, deleted all my backups, changed my number, bought a new device, but sometimes late at night it still buzzes, and when I check the screen, the notification reads, "New videos saved," even though I have no apps installed, even though my camera roll is empty. Sometimes I open it, sometimes I don't. But I always feel like I'm being watched, and deep down, I know. The girl in those videos, she wasn't just trapped, she was trying to warn me, and I didn't listen. My name is Shelby, and for the longest time, I kept this story locked away in the back of my mind like a sealed trunk at the bottom of a dark, forgotten ocean. But some doors, no matter how tightly you close them, creak back open, especially when the past doesn't stay where it belongs. I'm 36 years old. I grew up in Italy and speak English fluently now, but it's not my first language. My husband Antonio was everything, the type of man who made silence feel safe and laughter feel effortless. He died in a motorcycle accident 8 years ago on April 29, 2016. Since that day, a part of me has floated adrift untethered from the life I knew. In the spring of 2018, I finally decided to take the trip he always dreamed about, Greece. We had talked about it every year, made vague plans, scrolled through Pinterest boards, but work, finances, and life got in the way. After he passed, I couldn't bear the idea of going alone. But something shifted in me. That spring maybe grief got bored of being quiet. I booked a cruise called the Best of Greece through Celebrity Cruise Line. Athens, Santorini, Ephesus, Thessaloniki, then back to Athens. It was supposed to be a spiritual journey, a tribute, but that's not what it became. The first night after setting sail, I allowed myself to be reckless. Too much wine, too many memories swirling like waves against the rocks of my consciousness. I wandered off the ship and into a small seaside bar, candlelight flickering in red glasses, music low and slow. I sat at the bar sipping a martini, thinking of Antonio. And then I noticed him. He was tall, late 30s, maybe, with long dark hair, pulled back in a low ponytail, and a beard that looked like it hadn't seen a razor in weeks. There was something ancient about his face, like he didn't quite belong in the time he was occupying. His clothes were plain black button-up dark jeans, but his stare, it was sharp enough to cut bone. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Travelers glance at each other all the time, but his gaze, it wasn't curiosity, it was possession. Like he recognized me and wasn't happy to see me, like I had done something to him. I left the bar in a hurry, my heart stammering like it was stuck in my throat. The air was too thick, the shadows too dark. I chalked it up to the alcohol and my grief playing tricks on me. But he wasn't done. 2 days later, I arrived in Mykonos. By now, the weird feeling in my gut had dulled. I'd buried it under pastries and sightseeing. I stopped by a cute outdoor bar near the edge of the old town, sipping on a cocktail and watching seagulls scream above the white rooftops. Then, I froze. He was there again, leaning against a light pole across the plaza, arms folded, head cocked, slightly. Same outfit, same hair, same impossible stare. Only this time, it was daylight. There was no wine to blame, and the fear that bubbled up in my chest felt different. It wasn't nervousness. It was primal. I looked away. I wiped my palms on my dress. When I looked back, he was gone. Just like that. I left with 2 tourists I'd met earlier that day, laughing more than necessary to hide the terror crawling under my skin. That night, instead of sleeping, I walked the ship from bow to stern, searching every bar, every deck, every hallway. Nothing. He wasn't on the ship. I was sure of it. When we docked in Volos, I didn't even get off the ship. I planted myself near the gangway and watched every passenger disembark. My eyes scanned every face. He never came off, which made no sense. If he wasn't on the ship, how was he in me? Unless he was traveling separately. Unless he wasn't real. No, he was. I spent the day at the pool pretending to be normal, but inside my brain, everything was unraveling. By now, I was terrified of shore excursions, but also terrified of seeming crazy. So I forced myself to explore Thessaloniki. No alcohol, just sunlight and cobblestone streets. I was passing a small bookstore when I felt its eyes on my back. I turned around and there he was, a block away, standing motionless. No sunglasses, no blinking, just watching. I don't know what came over me, but I walked toward him fast. Then I started yelling, "Who are you? Why are you following me?" He turned and ran, and I chased him, through the narrow streets, around corners, past stunned pedestrians. Every second I was closer. I nearly caught up, but then he was gone, as if he vanished into a crack in the world. I stood there panting, sweating, my hands shaking uncontrollably. This wasn't grief. This wasn't in my head. Something was following me. When I finally got back to Athens and flew home, the silence of my apartment felt heavier than it ever had, but not just from loneliness, from something else. I started researching. I didn't even know what I was looking for. Missing persons, paranormal sightings. Nothing made sense, but then I found it. A missing person flyer from 3 years ago. A man named Antonio Romano. Same long hair, same beard, same black shirt. My blood went cold. His first name was Antonio Jusla, my husband. But that wasn't the worst part. The flyer listed his death date. A boating accident off the coast of Parga, Greece, April 29th, 2 years to the day after my Antonio died. I called the Greek authorities. They confirmed the case was closed. He had been found dead. Then why was he following me? I broke down sobbing, not just from fear, but from something else, guilt. What if that thing was trying to tell me something? What if I was never supposed to come to Greece alone? What if I had brought something with me? Last summer, my niece Maria got married in Athens. I didn't want to go. I begged her to change locations, but family obligations have a cruel way of ignoring trauma, so I went. And at the reception, under golden lights strung across a hotel rooftop, I saw him again, standing near the bar. Same outfit, same stare, only this time, he smiled, and I knew I would never be rid of him. Not in this life, maybe not even in the next.